We finally reached the time in the CUST Corner back catalog where I actually own the video rights to all of my own shows, which is terrific news. Problem is, this is back when we were at our temp studio before we moved into this one, and spoiler alert, we'll be moving studios once again, but we hadn't quite figured out our audio at this temporary studio, so it's not great. Don't hold that against us for this one. The quality of the content, we're talking about tiny homes with CUST and Garion. It's still going to be pretty good, but what I would hope that you could do is hit the like button for the episode and spread the show around and subscribe to the audio exclusive version of CUST Corner. It's off the Pat Mayo Experience audio podcast feed and its own CUST Corner feed. So if you're looking to kill some time, the entire back catalog will be caught up on that audio podcast feed in the near future. As of right now, I believe there's over 15 hours of CUST Corner content that is already out. So sit back and enjoy CUST Corner.
CUST Corner, it's CUST Corner. CUST Corner, it's CUST Corner. He's got the hottest takes with the highest stakes. He should be president of the United States, but it's CUST Corner, it's CUST Corner. CUST Corner,
CUST Corner X.
CUST Corner X.
CUST Corner X, because CUST really loves the Roman numerals. He thinks that's really cool.
Malcolm the 10th?
Well, Malcolm the 10th is completely different.
It's true.
So let's bring him in. Garion Thorne's here, by the way. Hello. We're recording this. You're going to be seeing this well after. That's why we're in our old studio, not our new studio. But we figured we had Garion here. We only have him for a limited time. He's back, and we got to get the CUST Corner crew back together in its original form.
I did have one person say they needed a CUST Corner featuring me.
Well,
one person.
We are answering the needs of those one person.
Yeah. So here you go, that one person.
So Garion's here. Also here, Tim Andercust.
Tim Andercust.
Not my name.
Heard it was.
But I mean, since this is Corner X, I mean, are the millennials lining up around the block and sleeping overnight to wait for it, like the iPhone X?
Maybe.
You might be. Would you be okay with being a millennial phenomenon?
I mean, I'm already sort of a phenomenon. So, I mean, maybe.
So in the way that, like, millennials are so over it, because you're over them, you think they revere you.
I'm revered by the people. That's why I was picked as their tribune.
So you're lumping millennials into the people now. I thought millennials were like a subsect of people, not worthy of the distinction of being part of your, like, the Tim Hive.
No, part of the purpose of this podcast is for me to sort of like point the way for them forward so they can be redeemed and leave their wicked ways.
This sounds like you're starting a cult.
No, I'm not starting a cult.
Oh, so
I am
you have
simply
a cult.
trying to guide people away from their mistakes.
Tim has a cult, just no one has joined it yet.
And if we just could change the name of this show to Blockchain Corner, we'd get 1 million followers.
Leader beans.
Leader beans are where it's at.
It's true.
So what we're going to do for this one, Tim, I know you have some stuff that you want to talk about. I am not privy to what that stuff is, as the point of CUST Corner. But Garion had one that he wanted to bring up. So, Garion, go ahead.
I did throw this at Tim about a week ago, but I just wanted to have a more in-depth discussion with it because he wholeheartedly agreed with me. I'm very upset at millennials, which I will acknowledge is myself, for really rebranding living in a trailer park as tiny homes.
Oh,
it's
the worst.
Single-roomed homes on wheels that are fancy. I will point out...
fancy trailers.
They're very fancy trailers, but they, like... It's not just that they have them and call them tiny homes in the tiny home movement, which economically might make sense. It's probably the only way a lot of millennials are ever going to afford a house. I understand that. But they, like, revere these little, like, oh, we come together and live in communities. It's like, yeah, it's a goddamn trailer park. You can't rebrand a trailer park and make it this, like, hip, trendy thing. It's a trailer park. So anyway, that was really getting me, and I figured if I needed someone to back me up on this, Tim would be there.
So, Tim, what's your take on tiny homes?
I think they're, again, just an obvious example of conspicuous consumption where you've got a bunch of millennials who choose to waste their money on other things and buy these hip, tiny homes like you see on TV because it's kitsch and because it's neat and because they're antipathetic to owning a normal house and living a normal life. They have to be out there on their own, and they have to make sure that their bathroom is next to their kitchen sink, which is next to their bed. And it's, yeah, exactly. The community they're building is a trailer park. Now, I am not one to look down my nose at people who live at a trailer park.
No.
I'm not that type of person.
Yeah, you are.
But no, I am not. You are. I am not. And the fact of the matter is,
I just can't wait till
I
they
think
class up
doing
NASCAR
themselves-
and call it like.
They race limousines.
like they're doing themselves a disservice, and they're doing people a disservice by trying to pretend like they're better than that, when that's the life they're leading. Of course they can afford more than a tiny home. They just don't want to. They're hoping they can get on that TV show and hit it big, right? That's the whole point of this.
Well,
It's something that will fit on their Instagram feed.
It would fit very well on an Instagram
Although I
feed.
feel like, Tim, as someone who has gone out of his way to live a very minimalist lifestyle with your one fork, your one knife, and your one plate, couldn't you appreciate someone who is also just undertaking their life with a one-room approach?
But the reason they're doing it is so that people know what a simple life they're leading, and that they're not materialistic, that they can live in a house that's about as off the grid as a house can be in 21st century. I just find the whole thing cloying and uninteresting, and a just further example that we are in a late stage decline.
See, Tim doesn't like tiny homes because he can't fit in tiny homes. I think that's the real gripe.
Please. Just because I'm not 4'7" and 112 pounds doesn't mean that of course I fit in a tiny home. Just they're dumb. What kind of thing is that to say?
If you're under 4'7", it's politically correct to call it a little home. Not a
It's
tiny
not a
home.
tiny home, it's just a little
We
home.
really have to put that.
Yeah,
out
but
there.
then at that point, that's just a regular home.
That's true. A dollhouse is a normal house for a doll.
Yeah.
Right.
So I watch a lot of these tiny home shows.
I have also watched a lot of them.
My wife is big into tiny home. Anything on HGTV.
It's an
she's
easy
into.
watch. I'm not taking down the show. It's a very easy watch.
I was even watching, because we watch like Home Hunters, and we watch like Home Hunters International. Now we were watching Tiny Home Hunters International.
See, but Tiny Home Hunters takes out the fun of Home Hunters, which is like, I'm looking for 3 bedrooms by the ocean with great views. I've got $20. Find me that house. I love the incompetence of people. It's great.
Well, I mean, most of it is just Americans going to like other places.
Yeah.
And they don't quite understand like currency exchanges or like what's in the city or how expensive it is. That part always kind of cracks me up. Like the guy who wanted the cheapest place possible in Singapore. He was just like, yeah, here's your closet. He's like, well, no, I want 3 bedrooms. Well, you're not going to get that. Are you a millionaire? No.
I hate these shows. They should be banned.
Why? What do you got against HGTV?
Well, nothing against HGTV in particular. It's just like, come on, man. Who wants to watch a television show about people who want to buy a house too small for Thumbelina to live in? Like, at some point, you're misappropriating your time. There are better things to be doing than watching that. Come on. How can there be an audience for that?
There's a big audience. Gary and I both just said we watch it.
66% of the people having this conversation have watched those shows.
And like I said, I wouldn't watch it independently on my own.
No.
I watch it with my wife because it's something easy that we can watch together.
I don't fight it when my girlfriend turns it on.
It's like that show Elementary. I don't particularly like
Yeah,
it.
it's not.
But out of all the crappy shows that she watches, that's the one that's probably the best.
Yeah, it's like Feinberg used to have that conversation.
Yeah, but Feinberg loves The Blacklist, and like he's in on network TV.
Yeah.
So am I.
Yeah, we know. But I think another part of the problem, like Tim's
It also calls itself a movement, and which is also a problem, right?
You literally just said that people are misappropriating their time and they should be doing this and doing this. You're, again, starting a cult and you're anti-movements.
The problem with Tim's cult is he's the only member.
You know, it's all a part of the millennial. You have to have a food philosophy. You have to have a living philosophy. You have to have a dwelling philosophy. Now, just buy a house or a condo or live in an apartment like a normal person, and don't buy some little tiny shack that is ridiculous and is just asinine, and it should be banned.
Are you afraid that this might, like, perpetuate a string of Unabomber type people? Is that why you're so anti this?
I just think it's dumb and it's pretentious.
Well, what if they didn't call it tiny homes or a tiny home movement? They just called it sheds.
With a Z?
Well,
with a Z.
At least that would be more honest.
If it had started in the early 2000s, that's definitely what it would have been called.
So, Tim's, like I said,
it's just high-hattedness in the worst way. That's all.
Yeah, no, I agree. Again, at the base of this conversation, I agree with you. I think it's millennials being too proud to say they live in a trailer park and having to market it a certain way where they don't live in a trailer park.
that is good branding for
It is.
trailer
It's
parks, by the
great
way.
branding. Yeah.
This is really giving a
Bad
face.
branding for tornadoes.
Yes.
When they start taking out white people, but like higher class white people,
affluent white people. Yeah,
That's a problem.
then they'll be on the news and
Yeah.
everything. We won't just not hear about it anymore.
Yeah.
But as a branding thing, rebranding trailer parks as tiny home communities, and people might go live there before they figure it out.
Ask yourself this question: are these the sorts of people that the creators of South Park would make fun of or not make fun of?
This is your manifesto?
I mean,
would,
if-
what
I-
would Matt and
I
Trey do?
feel like the answer to that question is everyone.
Yeah.
But in particular, could you see an episode of South Park surrounded about making fun of people who live the tiny house movement lifestyle? The answer to that question is yes. Those are exactly the sorts of supercilious people they'd make fun of.
Well, they already did
I was gonna say, I
the
assume
Randy
it's
Marsh
happened,
episode
yeah.
where he had his own HGTV show where he was rebuilding houses.
That is true.
So the answer, of course, is yes to this. The other part about tiny homes and HGTV in general that Tim doesn't like is Tim is the least handy person alive. So when he sees other people effectively using tools and doing it right, it makes him sad.
Right.
That's not true. I'm not jealous of that.
I think you are.
No, I'm not given to that type of jealousy. I'm happy to see people being handy. I'm not handy. That's true. But I harbor no ill will.
That's going to be our HGTV show.
Like an actual edition of Home Improvement?
Yeah, it'll just be CUST builds.
Yeah.
And we give him blueprints of things, and he has to use the saw, and then he won't have any fingers left. It'll just be like him missing the nail with the hammer.
I think it's funnier if it's simple things, like CUST builds a birdhouse.
I know, I'm
but
telling
does
you,
it
I'm telling you,
terribly.
CUST does is a show.
Like, this is getting way too close to Weber Cooks.
No! CUST cooking show.
Yeah.
Well, Paul had the idea that the next time that Tim comes up, that what we do is just bring him around to a bunch of, like, hipster restaurants, and he can review them.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Those would
Well-
be searing.
You have to do definitive ranking of Toronto hipster restaurants, and they're not all allowed to be in dead fucking last. Because that's not
That's
fun.
going to be difficult.
All right, so I have a topic for you, Tim.
All right.
This was discussed over Christmas. And shout out to my friend Jeremy Keefe. He came over, met Tim for the first time, avid listener of the show. Didn't think Tim was real. He thought he was me doing a different voice of a crazy person every time I cut to the graphic. And he was blown away. And then he was like, oh, it must be just an act, because he met Tim for like an hour.
Yeah.
And very normal. And then Tim, tell us what you thought about banking and checks.
What do I think? We were talking about this new trend that banks have where you can take a picture of a check with your phone, and then through the presto magic of the app, you can like push a button and somehow deposits into your account.
Sorry, Tim. Before you go any further, this new trend, this has been around for at least 3 years.
Well, that's still pretty new, if that's even true. And I'm
Not
not
for
so
really
sure
technology.
Yeah, in technology terms, that's ancient. I mean, it's what I use to deposit checks and have done for a long
The
time.
ING Direct guy used to tell me about it.
So
He
I
saves
never
you money.
do that. I always take my checks to the bank, as I do with anything that I need to deposit into my account. And the reason I have been, particularly with checks, I'm vigilant about depositing them because I'm certain that those checks get sent back to the sender so that they can reconcile their checkbook at the end of the month or at the end of the quarter. So I always make sure, like if you're just taking a picture of the check, well then they can't get the check back because you still have it.
Yeah,
if you go to the bank and give them the check and it goes through the machine and it's stamped and it goes back to the check writer so that they can balance their checkbook.
I like that he thinks that people are still out in now what is 2018 with their checkbooks and actually physically balancing their balance sheets, which is kind of funny because I went to my grandma's over Christmas and she had a letter in an envelope on the counter made out to American Express. She still pays her credit card bill through the mail.
Really? Oh my god.
So she's Tim in this situation.
But it's okay for her to be Tim in this situation.
Yeah, she doesn't know any better.
She
Tim
doesn't know
knows
better,
better.
Yeah.
We were trying to teach her how to use an iPad. That wasn't working. Like, Tim at least knows how to do that. He can find the home button.
He's like,
Yeah,
a cat.
I'm not comfortable even using the banking app on my phone.
Tim
I
won't-
know a lot of people like that, and I don't know why.
Yeah, but we also just skimmed over that Tim won't deposit a check into an ATM because he doesn't
Oh,
trust it.
wait. I assumed when you said you take it to a bank, you would.
I
So
go
you
to the
don't
teller.
even put it into an ATM.
No, I tell her.
Oh my god.
Is there a more
But
frustrating...
doesn't that cut into your walk time?
Oh, it's just a different type
I
of
don't
walk.
mind it.
It's a stand.
There's also banks at all the malls I'm going to. If I have to deposit a bunch of rolled change, or if I have to deposit checks.
That
or-
was it! That is... Yes, that is... I thank you for
You
bringing
still
that up.
roll your change.
Yes, not only does he roll his change, he was flabbergasted to know that there are things at like grocery
Do it
stores
for
that
you?
that you can go into and just dump all your change in,
Although-
and it spits out money.
Tim would be mad that the government takes a cut of that.
I don't think it's the
They-
government. I think it's the machine that takes a cut. But it's no different than going to like an off-brand ATM that's not your bank and they charge you $3.
It's true. You still
no,
roll
I
your
do-
money?
Who has change?
I have like once or twice a year, I will spend an afternoon rolling change. I find it very enjoyable. Actually, you put on a podcast, you have a coffee or a drink or something, and you just roll some change. It's actually quite a rewarding experience. It's like finding free money when you do it.
Well, I guess
no, I'm a big,
roll some
I'm a big
change.
fan of rolling change. And when you have a bunch of rolled change, you have to go to the teller to deposit it. Last time I looked, I couldn't take a picture of my roll of quarters and deposit that into my bank account. Now could I?
What
So you-
What is the general reaction of, let's say, I would say when I go to a bank, most tellers are between the age of 25 to 45. What is the reaction of tellers when you walk in there with rolls of change? How do they generally react to that situation?
I haven't noticed anything unusual. I mean, I'm sure people are bringing in change all the time. Like, I'm doing normal quotidian banking. So why would they, like, bat an eyelash at somebody who's doing a normal banking transaction?
Do you think the average person sees Tim going about his day and thinks he suffers from the Benjamin Button disease?
Potentially. I mean, that would make a lot of sense.
I just,
No, I don't.
I so often think
I-
about Tim in the context of our conversations with Tim. With sometimes like Tim in the real world, I forget.
Like not knowing Tim, like we just think
just
of
people,
him-
yeah, just people pass by Tim and meet and interact with Tim for maybe once in their entire lives, and how that might potentially scar them and warp their view of just people in general.
Well, my big question about the rolling of the change is, how long does it take you to roll all this change?
It shouldn't take that long.
We used to say it's taking an afternoon to roll all those pennies.
An afternoon.
Well, like
So what does
the
it have-
change rolls have a certain amount of space in them that they like you just fill it until it's full, and that's
But we've
50
already
pennies. That's-
gone over. He's not the most handy fella.
That's
I don't trust those things.
I
I,
knew
don't
you
like those things. I put them in manually one at a time. I don't even like the clear
He
plastic
doesn't use the
rolls
clear
they
ones.
have now because the snaps are hard to get in, and half the time the spring, well, it's not a spring, but like the little snaps let go, and the change goes everywhere.
I also like that he said the clear ones that they have now. I can't recall a time where I've been alive that those haven't existed.
they've existed, but I do remember my parents using the brown ones, like the brown paper
They still
ones.
sell the brown ones at dollar
I'm
store.
sure they do.
I'm sure they still exist, but it's not like the clear ones are some fancy new thing. They've also been around for 4 decades.
Big plastic trying to
No.
get out of the change rolling business before it goes away. It's
I
like
feel like those
Bitcoin, you
were
gotta
like
buy
2
in
years.
now.
Yeah, do you
Those
roll your
have been around for
Bitcoin?
like 2 years.
All I heard was 2 years.
Yeah, 2 years.
I feel like those things have been around for like 2 years.
The plastic ones?
Yeah, they haven't been around that long.
I would say, someone can tell me if I'm wrong on this. I would put the over-under at 35 years, and I would take over.
I mean, it's more than 2. I remember rolling them in the plastic things when I was like 10. Now we're at 15.
So that was 3 years ago.
Yeah, now that's at least 3 years. Anyway, okay.
Rolling change. And I like that his entire idea about the bank is what he saw on that episode of The Simpsons when Bart tried to get Krusty's autograph. Because as it turns out, as we asked you, Tim, how many checks have you ever written?
I don't think I've ever had to actually write a check.
So how do you even know?
Well, I mean, I've received multiple checks and always deposit them promptly into the bank.
Can't trust an ATM. Also,
No, I
banking.
can trust.
Going into a bank, the banking experience, like dealing with a teller, having to go through them, it's the single absolute worst customer service experience you can have. It takes forever. They never have any answers for you.
The DMV might be worse. Although I guess you generally accomplish something.
Yeah, like you're in there
While
for
you're
a
there.
specific purpose. Also, so he said he spends an afternoon rolling this change. And it's going to be like multiple hours. So let's say 3 hours to roll all your change, Tim.
Not quite 3 hours, no.
Let's say 2 hours. How much money are you getting out of this?
Couple $100.
Really? A couple $100 of rolled change? Because I feel like a couple $100 of rolled change would take more than 2 hours to roll.
No, I mean, if you have like a couple of rolls of loonies, like that's $50 right there.
So do you just have like a jug that you drop your loose change into at the end of the day? Like, where do you keep all this hundreds of dollars of change when it's not rolled?
Yeah, I do keep like a like a big like old coffee can that I'll throw change into, but I'll also roll change for relatives if like because they're older and so I don't mind going over for the afternoon, like rolling my grandmother's change for her so she can deposit it or something like that. I'm always happy to do that.
Did that sound dirty to you?
No, just sounds sad.
Yeah.
Rolling change. That is very nice of you to do. But
It is.
You should get her on the online banking app.
No, she does not even have a computer.
Oh, so you need to get her a computer, get her on the app, and then she wouldn't have all this change around for you to come over to do it.
No, I think if I could go back in life and not even be on the internet, it might be best for everything.
But no one would know who
but
you
you're
are.
revolutionizing the way people live by being an internet personality.
Well, I mean,
This is a very classic, like, It's a Wonderful Life scenario. Like, how would all millennial life be different if Tim didn't exist? How would they know what's right and wrong?
that is a very good point. You're like my Clarence.
You've got him to concede on something.
I mean, Tim realizes that he's not a martyr so much, but he's someone who's going to have to sacrifice his own well-being for the greater good of the public. He's Jesus.
The greater good. All right, Tim, what do you got for us?
So, I have several things, but this is something that happened to me yesterday, so we can talk about it. So, I was getting a coffee at Starbucks, and when I was finished, like, I just paid them whatever it was. I think the coffee came to like $2.20 something, so I gave them
Hold on one second. Are you having a snack again?
No, I am not.
Okay.
So I think the coffee came to like $2.20 something, maybe $2.20, $2.21, and I handed them a toonie and a quarter, and I kept the change.
What change?
And
there is no change with that.
I got like a nickel back, so I don't know the exact amount, but I got a nickel back.
Tim's favorite band.
And I sort of like when I kept it, I sort of got a side eye from the barista who was working the cash register, and it got me to thinking: are you supposed to tip at a coffee shop? Like, is that an obligation? I don't think it is, or it should be. I've never done it, but then I went online and looked up and just typed it into Google, and apparently, like, lots and lots of people tip their coffee makers and their baristas, and I thought that shouldn't be. Why the heck would you, sir? Like, you don't tip the person at McDonald's who gives you something. You don't tip the person at Subway who makes your sandwich. Why would you tip the person at Starbucks or Tim Hortons or Dunkin' Donuts that makes your coffee? I don't understand that phenomenon. Do you understand it?
Yeah, this is not a coffee. This is not a Dunkin' Donuts, Tim Hortons thing. This is a Starbucks thing, I think.
No, it's also Tim Hortons too. I mean, I can't speak on Dunkin' Donuts because we don't have any around.
I don't feel like I even see tip jars at Tim Hortons though.
No, but people just leave the change there. It's something that's been going on. I remember when we were in high school, like I had a ton of friends who would work at Tim Hortons. It was the best place to work because you got your minimum wage, just like you would at any other like fast food job. Plus, you got all the tips that came along with it. This is not a new phenomenon. This has been happening for a very long time. You just don't tip anyone. That's why people spit in your coffee.
No, is one supposed to tip at a coffee shop? Is my question.
The point is to. Well,
it's not an obligation.
It's not an obligation, but most
it's not
people
like
just.
Well, you're obligated to tip.
What?
It's not like a restaurant. You go out to like a restaurant. Of course you're obligated to tip, and you should. Or if you're at a bar, you're obligated to tip. But I think is a coffee shop the same? Like, is there a social obligation there?
Yes, I think there is. I mean, I think there's not a social obligation to go out of your way to tip, but whatever like remainder change that you have. So let's say you paid I don't know,
$3.
Yeah, it came to like $3.75 or something, and you paid with a $5 bill. You would leave the $1.25 for the person there.
I think that's fun, but like in Tim's specific scenario where he paid a $2.21.
Hey, you leave the nickel.
But again, I feel like that's almost insulting.
No, but that's a part of it, though. That is the tip. Like whatever your change left over is, whether it's $1, whether it's 5 cents.
No,
you just leave it.
I get that aspect of it, but I feel like, and I'm someone who doesn't buy coffee, and I can kind of take Tim's
What do you
side
just
on
live
this.
on
Where
good vibes? How do you wake up in the morning?
I just wake up, but like. I worked as a cashier for a long time, and I would say that most times on a Saturday, I do a hell of a lot more packing someone's bags than someone would do making a coffee at Tim Hortons, where they just pick up the pot and pour the coffee and give it to me. But I don't know. I would feel almost bad leaving someone 20 cents. Like, that is what I would call a bitch tip.
Sure, but you have to think about coffee places, the volume that you see.
Sure,
that if
20
every
cents
single
for 100
person
people,
left
yeah.
20 cents, like you'd be making out large by the end of the night.
Yeah.
Because you just have so many people coming through. But now their tip industry, especially now, has been really crushed because most people just pay with cards.
Yeah. I don't know. I think that, and with the debit conversation, like you go into a restaurant.
No, the actual move is to pay with credit.
Either way, you pay with a card, plastic, and you use the machine.
I don't understand using debit cards.
Well, it's fine too.
If you have the money in your account to spend, why wouldn't you use a credit card?
We've had this discussion before. I agree.
You get those points. You got to get the credit card points.
But if you're using a credit card to pay at a restaurant, it prompts you to leave a tip.
Yes.
If I'm using a credit card to pay at Tim Hortons, it does not prompt me to leave a tip.
No.
So I would almost kind of agree with Tim here, where if they're the ones who are setting the social obligation, they're already doing a bad job of like steering people in that direction.
I don't think they're trying to steer people in that direction. I just think it's something that people just do because most people, unlike Tim, just don't care about change anymore and just here you go, have the change.
Yeah, but how is he going to spend lovely days with his grandmother if he doesn't get this change?
He can find other things. They have a lot in common.
It's probably
that is true.
But anyway,
we can watch reruns of the Rockford Files together.
The Rockford Files.
Wow.
No. The only one of those ones that I still watch, if it's on, I'll watch Hogan's Heroes.
It's pretty fun.
Yeah, it's a great show.
Is that all on Deja Vu?
Yes. By the way, can you imagine if something like that show existed today? Like, was it you and I who were talking about this?
Yeah.
Like what the equivalent would be?
That show was less than 20 years after World War II, and you have Nazi commandants and prisoners of war. Like I said, be the equivalent of like making a show that was like a comedy about Al Qaeda after 9/11. Like it's just it's so foreign that I guess it shows that people had a bigger sense of humor back then than we do now.
Or there was just less of a worldwide soapbox for everyone to stand up on and point to the
there was probably people that were outraged. People just didn't hear about it.
There was no way to understand that if a person in Iowa who was outraged by this had literally no conduit to tell anyone they were outraged by this, so that could just be it too.
All right, what else you got for us?
Got a long list of things. I've got why I hate workout couples, why restaurants who are stupid that don't take reservations, why travel is dumb, Pawternity. What would you like to talk about?
What?
Wait, what's... Oh, wait, Pawternity. Let's get into Pawternity, because that is really stupid.
Okay, I don't even know what this is.
It's like paternity, but with dogs, so they call it Pawternity.
Oh, that's cute.
No.
Yeah, where like your work will give you a few days off when you get a new dog,
so wait,
that you can like acclimatize yourself.
No, that's not a real thing.
It might be.
Oh,
no.
I think it might
be.
be.
No. Hold on one second. Most places, not most places, that's unfair. There are places that, like, basically if you get pregnant, they will fire you instead of giving you maternity leave. There's no way other places are giving you off to spend time with a new dog. That's not happening.
Honestly, if you told me, like, Liberty Village is the example I'm going to use. Just imagine Brooklyn if you live in the States. If you told me a Liberty Village company offered Pawternity, true or false? Just one.
Well,
I'd say true.
Yes, in Liberty that could happen, but also Fantasies in Liberty, they're not doing that for you.
No, but you know what? Secretly great maternity packages.
Oh no, yes, absolutely.
Fantasy, which I know it doesn't really help me, but well, Tim, have you considered though? Like sometimes I go back and I watch old CUST Corners and I fret that we don't put ourselves in these situations enough.
Into the other people's situations.
Yeah. So Tim, imagine for a second that you are, the father of a puppy. Possibly Doug the Pug. Doug the Pug is your fur baby. Would you not want to spend some time making sure he's acclimatized to his new surroundings?
Get the dog on a long weekend then. Pick it up on the Friday of a long weekend or a regular weekend. Or burn your own vacation days if you really have to spend that extra 2 weeks with your dog. The idea that a company would provide paid leave for someone to acclimatize to their dogs. I said on Twitter, gee, I wonder what generation of people is causing this to happen. Like, this is just like further evidence of the fact that this is the worst generation of all time and that the generation behind us has to be better. And I have such high hopes for them because surely they will see through the nonsense of Pawternity. Oh, sorry, I've got to go pick up my dog on my unicycle and take him to get his shots, and can't come into, I can't come into the hemp store today, but I'll be in on Tuesday. Like, come on, it's just so outlandish. It's all part of a piece. Like, part of the thing that this show has done, I think, for people is it's like a jigsaw puzzle. And I've been putting a piece in every single time to sort of give a grander vision of what this generation looks like.
It's like Memento.
That Tim is like Teddy and that you shouldn't believe his lies?
I'm showing people a truth they don't want to see or know, but yet they know it's true. Like Pawternity, I didn't know much about it either, really anything about it. But as soon as I read it, like Garion said, it's like, of course there would be places that would do this. Of course there would.
But I think it's smaller companies. Like I don't think a Fortune 500 company is offering this sort of
I will
thing.
swing this back the other way. And the great thing about millennials is that they're always just looking for paid days off, and they get them.
Yeah, I mean, look,
They've really milked the system
Yeah.
that way pretty well.
Yeah, I mean, look, I would take
What
it.
a noble thing to have done.
Hey, I mean,
Listen, everyone's just trying to stick it to the man, Tim. People just do it in different ways. You are the man.
Yeah,
so
no,
you don't,
Tim is the
you-
man,
Yeah, you
though,
just
yeah.
don't like when people stick it to you.
well, Tim's not the man, but he's like,
I've been standing up for the man for a
Yeah.
long time.
Tim is a lot like... trying to think of the name. Completely eluding me. Alec Baldwin in 30 Rock.
oh, Jack Donaghy.
Jack Donaghy. So when he said that, it's not about outside the box thinking. The real people who have the real character are the people that think inside the box and come up with solutions that way. That's Tim.
Well, that is one of my least favorite expressions. Well, we have to think outside the box. Like, if everybody's thinking outside the box, then the box has probably got something valuable. The reason there is a box.
What's in the box?
Gwyneth Paltrow went as that for Halloween this year, by the way.
Oh, did she?
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, spoil. Yeah, sorry if I'm spoiling a 22-year-old movie. Yeah, sorry.
Well,
Was Gwyneth
apology
Paltrow the
not
first
accepted.
person to ever exploit a tiny living situation like that?
Oh,
Was the box the first
tiny
tiny
home,
home?
the box.
I don't think she was alive in that box.
I don't know.
She could have been like on Futurama.
Like Rich Nixon's head.
So is that enough on Pawternity? I didn't even realize this was a thing.
Again,
Although I will say-
I cannot neither confirm nor deny it as a thing, but I would say if Tim says it's a thing, I could imagine there are companies out there who have done this.
So
It was in the Wall Street Journal.
Okay, there you go.
oh, it sounds like fake news. Do you see Feinberg was on CNN?
I was hyped for it.
It's
What's
crazy.
I was hyped for it.
Me too.
Does anyone have how long was he actually on?
I don't know. I didn't actually hear an audio clip of it.
No, neither did I. I just saw the video clip. Or, sorry, the photo.
I mean, this is coming out after the fact. He could still be stuck there for all we know.
It's true, yeah.
I tried to get him to
So-
get into the one and done, and he was like, "Yeah."
I need to talk about something else that I encountered yesterday, which is this thing that
Oh,
I've done.
hold on. You save that.
Okay.
I have more I want to say.
Okay.
So my wife is really pushing for us to get a dog or a cat. I'm allergic to both, so it's not good for me.
No.
And then we have
Does
to go.
DraftKings have paternity?
What's that?
Does DraftKings provide Pawternity for you?
Well, as an employee of Mayo Media Inc., no. I mean, I would have to provide that for myself.
MMI is not pulling its weight then for the dog owner in their company. Anyway, go ahead, tell your story.
That's true. So she wants a cat or a dog. I want neither.
Cat.
I just keep telling her, the way that I keep getting at it is like, listen, if you get one of these things, I'm not doing anything to take care of it. If the dog is hungry and you're not feeding it, I will let it die. And she's like, well, you can't do that. You wouldn't. And I wouldn't do that. But
You got to take a harsh stance now.
these are the parameters I have to work with by not getting them. I was like, and I'm also allergic to these things, and I don't want hair all around the house. She's like, well, we'll get one of those dogs. It's like hypoallergenic. And I started looking into it. They're like $3,000 or something.
Yeah.
And they're like excuses for dogs, basically.
Like
And-
a Portuguese water dog.
You can get the cats without the hair that just look real creepy.
That's creepy.
It's just
Oh,
I don't want to
it
be
does.
creeped out every time I come home. But Dinkmeyer pointed out to me, I think this is just her angling for us to have a kid.
It's like a starter
that.
pack, yeah.
Yes, but to wrap it all around, one of the things that I wanted to get her, because I do want her to have some fun, like have like dogs and cats, they make her happy. She loves animals. So I tried to rent puppies for Christmas. Like that was going to be my gift to her. I was going to rent her puppies for an afternoon, like 4 puppies at the house, which I hope would dissuade her from getting a dog to be running around pissing everywhere, that kind of thing. Yeah,
I feel like that could have backfired severely for you.
no, but at least we'd have that in our back pocket. If we ever need the dog, just we'll go rent the puppies for $100.
No, I think Garion means you come home one day and she has 4 puppies.
No.
Yeah, that was sort of my thought
No,
process there. Yeah.
I don't think she would leap over the bounds and just have a dog there after I explicitly said I didn't want one. But
You should get a cat, like Toonses. He could drive you places.
yeah, but Doug the Pug can't.
Doug the Pug is not. You know what? I'm not even going to. You're not going to trigger me and get me upset about this.
Tim, do you know that Tim won 2017's most triggered person?
That's
Well, you
not
know-
true. I don't get triggered by things. Just when
You know
I
what being triggered is, though? It's the first
I
step to
just
getting
think-
woke.
That's true. Yeah,
just
now that's
encounter-
2018, would you consider yourself woke?
No, absolutely not. I just encounter things that outrage me, and I have to express my opinions.
So triggered.
Yeah.
So
Stop doing outrageous things.
in Toronto, you cannot rent puppies for the afternoon.
Is it like puppy slavery?
Yeah,
If the puppies aren't being properly paid?
I guess so.
Fair puppy wages?
I just
kinda-
thought I thought it was kind of crazy that didn't exist. Remember when like very early days at Fantasy, Uber put on a thing?
Yeah.
It was called Uber Puppies.
I remember
I
that.
just assumed that existed outside of that one day,
I'm
but it
100%
didn't.
sure you can still rent puppies.
No, I looked into. I even contacted Blog.to, who would have the in on this.
Yeah.
Industry does not exist. I remember I did it when I lived in Manhattan. There's like 3 places in Brooklyn that do it.
Well,
Not in
what
Toronto.
about those universities that have like the puppy rooms? They don't keep the puppies there 24/7, I assume.
Well, I don't know.
They
I
must
didn't-
rent the
there was
puppies.
one at a university I was at, and that's exactly what it was. During exam periods, there was a puppy room for people who needed it for stress purposes or whatever.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like, they didn't go out back and old yeller the puppies when exam season was over. Like, clearly they rented the puppies, right?
I have to imagine that happened. I mean, or they knew people who were like dog breeders and could bring the puppies in. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the commodification of I don't know. I'm kind of uncomfortable with the whole story.
We're really getting into puppy rights on this episode.
I'm
Well, I'm
anti.
not saying that they're animals. They don't really have rights, but
Doug does.
they-
I don't know. Yeah. Well, like, if you have human characteristics like Doug the Pug.
I mean, he's a New
He
York Times
doesn't have-
bestseller.
He's just a dog who struggles to breathe. That's all he is. His owners are the real pro. I actually said I feel bad for the dog. The dog is just a dog. It's those obnoxious owners who think they're so clever with their costumes and their milquetoast statements and their most obvious tweets and Instagrams and Snapchats or whatever else they're into. Nobody finds that interesting. They're all the followers they have are either bot followers or they're pity followers. That's all. No one is genuinely interested in what that dog is up to. And I, least of all, please, for God's sakes, people, stop sending me these photos. I can't take it.
So, Tim doesn't seem to believe that Doug doesn't have owners. Doug doesn't. Doug is an independent dog
Yeah.
that takes his own selfies and writes his own. Why, Kate? How come sometimes during like his photos that there's quotes about what Doug is saying?
He's not saying these things.
They're in
Come on.
quotations.
Yeah. How am I supposed to interpret that any other way?
Like when Doug was making that dough, he was making that dough.
Again, so lame, so unfunny.
You understand
Yes.
that the only reason that you don't like Doug the Pug is because he lives the same life as you.
He does not live the same life as me. He lives a loser life, and he's not even that cool. And he like claims to be like pop culture sensation. And clearly, I'm better at all of these things than he is.
All right, so what happened to you yesterday?
I was at the gym going for a workout, and one of the least pleasant things you can encounter at the gym are the workout couples. These are the people who dress the same, who go on the same types of machines at the same time, who carry on conversations while they're on the machines. This happened to me yesterday. I knew these people were going to be a problem because they were both drinking coconut water, which is like the first sign that there's something wrong here. And here we are. I'm on the treadmill. I'm jogging. I'm listening to my podcast, and all I can hear is a man and a woman. They're clearly a couple talking. They're walking at like a semi-brisk pace on their treadmill, and they're talking the whole time. And I don't understand these people who have to work out together. It's like the same people, if you're like on an airplane, like ask you to give up your seat so that they can sit together for a flight. Like, don't make your
What's
codependency.
wrong with that? What's wrong with that?
What's wrong with any of
don't
this?
A couple? No. Don't make your codependency my problem. Enjoy a couple hours apart. It's
I
different
don't
if you
think
have a
it's
small kid or
codependency.
something.
It's
You
just
need-
it's
It's
just
different
simply
if you're-
asking, like,
It's different if you have a small child or an elderly relative who needs to be looked after, or another person who needs help. But if it's just two average healthy people and you didn't book your seats together, no. Enjoy a couple hours apart. Don't make your codependency my problem. That I have to get up out of my seat and move for your sake. I'm not doing that. That's dumb.
Someone
And
sounds a
so
little
it's-
jelly.
Yeah, you do say everything. You're just so petty and jealous that you don't have a
That's not-
companion to travel with.
I'm not. I don't want. It's okay to do things by yourself. It seems to me the gym is one of those things that a person should probably be doing by themselves, because
I would
ultimately
argue
it's
the
about
opposite
them
of
getting themselves, his or herself healthy. It's not about it. It does. You don't need to have this whole team thing. it's okay every now and then if you go with a friend or whatever, or a partner to the gym, that's fine. But when it becomes routine all the time, you can't go to the gym unless that person goes, and you have to carry on a conversation in the while you're on the machines and distract others of us who are. I don't like it. I think it's obnoxious. I just don't care for it, and I'm sure that I can't be alone on this.
Well,
What? Can you imagine like trying to work out and having two people just chat back and forth consistently while you're trying to do something?
How does that annoy you? Also, you're listening to something.
It drove me. I didn't say anything, but man, I wanted to say something like.
What are you gonna say?
What would you possibly say that's justifiable in that situation?
Like this is not a chat room. This is a gym. Like.
So,
just
have you never gone to the gym where people talk to each other? Like when I go to the gym, there's constantly people who didn't even come together, but like know each other from going to the gym at like similar times throughout the day. That they're sitting and chatting. Like as long as they're not like leaning over the machines that I want to use and chatting and not using them.
That is the ultimate thing right there. Yeah. So I have no problem. What the hell, people? I have my music so loud that nothing bothers me and I don't hear anything. So maybe you should try that and get over yourself. Either way, it's like golfing. You could go play with the best golfer in your group, but if he's someone if you play with Jordan Spieth and he needs to line up his shot for 15 minutes every single time, like I would much prefer to play with the crappy golfer that as soon as he puts it in the woods, he's like, yeah, I'm not looking for that. I'll just drop right here. Good. Just be fast about it. If you're at the gym as a couple, the one thing I don't like about either groups that work out together or couples that work out together is when they sit around chatting, not using the machines, but sitting on the machines. That I don't like. Now you're wasting my time because I'm trying to get on it, and now I need to wait for you.
And you do
but most of 90% of the time, that's not a thing.
Yeah, and you do have the situations where they kind of like, sorry Tim, but like they do like the supersets, which in theory is good, but like then you have like 3 people on 3 different machines, and they're all rotating through the 3 machines, and you can't even work in. Like these things are annoying. But again, in general, like the best shape I've ever been in my life in high school was because my friend just decided like we were going to go to the gym together every day, and then it was about not so much like I had to go to the gym with him. It was just that I needed to go because he was waiting for me to pick him up, and that was my motivation to go to the gym. Like I have no problem if that's the way you motivate yourself to get there.
Yeah, listen, getting to the gym is hard enough anyway.
Yeah,
regardless of who you are, whether you're someone who goes every day, it still sucks going.
Yeah,
unless you're like doing a ton of steroids and you just want to get like real yoked, then you love.
Yeah.
Like I show up.
If your only buddies are your gym buddies.
Yeah, it's like I show up. I do weights for like 25 minutes and go like run for 40. Like it's not the most thrilling experience. I don't look forward to it.
Yeah, like I've gone with friends and I don't enjoy when I'm trying to listen to a podcast or listen to music and they're trying to talk to me because that's.
But I don't like that anyway. You could remove me from the gym in that situation.
Yeah, exactly. But like if I go there with someone and we're both have the social understanding that like, yeah, cool, let's talk while we do cardio. Like I see no problem with that.
Also, working out with someone else is a lot better when you're lifting too, because then you always have a spotter.
Yeah. Don't wear the same stuff. That's annoying.
I mean, I don't care. Wear whatever you want.
Yeah, I really don't care, but like I could side with Tim on the like don't wear.
Need. There's just no need to
we
be
just
wearing
gave you
the same
several reasons why there is a need.
And chatting while you're on, like, seems to me it's a place to work out. It's not a place to chat. It's the same as I don't like people who like work in coffee shops. It's the same philosophy. Like there's a purpose, there's a teleology, an end to every place you're at. And I don't like mixing and matching a bunch of nonsense that doesn't need to be there. Like have your conversation in the locker room or have it against the wall before you go on the machines. If you get on the machines, it's time to work out. I don't need to hear incessant chatter about what your Christmas was like when I am trying to do my thing. Like, come on, people, get with it. And also, if you have coconut water is the worst. I mean, I said that's the highlight of this problems.
Who cares? Like, I think it's ridiculous when people are pounding those protein shakes and getting their stupid dust everywhere in the locker room. But hey, listen, they're in really good shape. Maybe I should be doing that too. It's never the real big fat guy you see pounding the protein shake.
I feel the same way as you do.
I mean, it's not for me, but it's clearly working for them.
I guess, sure.
Well, I mean, it sounds like the gym in general should be a place where you go to better yourself.
Yeah.
You feel better. Like, I always, like, if I have, like, low energy and I go to the gym, I actually come out with a ton more energy, and I feel good for the rest of the day. It's like when you work out a ton, then, like, you, like, eat over Christmas time. Probably when I was home for, like, 6 days, I got to the gym, like, twice.
Yeah.
And they weren't great workouts, but I felt better every time that I left. And then the days in between where you don't work out, like, you feel bad.
Yeah.
Like, you don't feel like you're
That's-
running at full strength.
Exactly.
But it should just be a place to better yourself. If you want to go there and talk, go talk.
Yeah.
Tim just seems like he's there to be
Yeah,
triggered.
my general philosophy on the
Not
gym
there to be
is
triggered, but people do outrageous things around me, and I
That
can't,
doesn't
like,
sound so
well,
outrageous.
again, as I think that as long as you're someone who's gotten to the gym, I'm already in a mindset where like, okay, you're trying to better yourself in some way. If this is the steps that need to be taken, and if you're not blocking the machines, you're not impeding me in any way, I don't care what you do.
When you took Aquafit body pump, Tim, did people talk to each other?
It was Aqua Body Pump, not Aqua Fit Body Pump.
What was the
No, there was very
average
little
age
conversation.
of that class?
Pardon me?
What was the average age of that class?
If you include me, 70.5. Exclude me, 77.5. It was at.
Were
like
you real
11
popular?
Pretty sure it was like 11:30s on Wednesday.
Now, was there chatter going on there?
Not during the event. No, there's too much action and too much there's too much like stuff going on. You haven't got time to chat.
Not even with your accountability buddy?
I don't. No, you're doing something full tilt. While you haven't got time to chat. Save that for after. And I'm trying to work. Stop bothering me. Like I don't. It's the codependency that sometimes just do what you want together, but don't make that an issue I have to deal with. That's my thing.
But you don't have to deal with it.
It's the
You're
same-
just
it's the
choosing to
same
be
as-
upset about it.
The same as giving up my seat on the flight, right? Like that's something that's like now invading my life that I have to do. When
But
I should
how much is it really putting you out? Honestly. If you have to move back one seat or switch across the aisle, unless it's a first class seat, every seat is exactly the same. Now, if it's a middle seat, I
Yeah,
can see that.
that's-
That could be a problem.
Yeah.
But other than that, I don't see where the problem lies.
I booked my seat where I wanted my seat. If someone didn't have the
How many
forethought
times
to-
have you ever actually picked your seat? You didn't just show up and it was assigned to you.
Oh no! As soon as the 24 hours before it hits, I immediately go online and check in.
Sure, but unless a seat is
Nope.
available, most aren't at that time. So you're just picking from the rest of the scraps.
I always choose the select seat at that point and find one of the seats in there.
All right. What were you saying about flying other than that?
Well, the other
traveling.
part was,
Traveling.
we did talk about this a couple weeks ago, is my anger at the people who won't give me full drinks on planes.
Did we actually talk about this?
I feel like
We didn't talk.
I've been on
we
a show
talked
where he's
this
talked
in
about
person.
this.
We talked about this in person. I don't think we talked about it on the show.
Okay, so Tim was on a flight back from Miami, and he wanted a full can of Coke.
And then, yeah, they only gave him the half can.
They only gave him the half can of Coke, and he was livid.
I wasn't livid. I said, I'll have
According
the
to the people that were with you, you were livid.
I said, I'll have the full can, please, after I was told I only have a half can. Because, again, it's not my responsibility for the airline to stock enough Coca-Cola for everybody.
Now, did
Like,
you pay?
that's not a
Did you
me
pay for
problem.
the Coke, or was this complimentary?
This is the complimentary stuff that they give out.
Then they
I
give
want
you
the
what they
full
give you.
can.
It's complimentary.
I want the full can. I paid for my flight. I always gotten the full
Exactly.
can in
You
the pack.
you paid for the flight. You didn't pay for the Coke. So if they were nice enough to give you a glass of Coke, you take that.
No, I want the whole thing.
Well, pay for a can of Coke then.
You don't pay for it. They give it to you for free. That's not. I mean, I know that you only got on a big boy plane for the first time in a year, in 20 years this year. But for those of us who've traveled a little bit more, we always get our full can. And the lady saying, "Oh well," and her reason was, "Well, you can't have the whole because I want to see if there's enough for everybody." I'm sorry, you having enough Coca-Cola on the plane is not my problem. That's someone else's problem. I want the full can.
This is why he makes sure not to switch his seats, because you got to get a seat up front.
So you get served first.
Can't sit in the middle, because if they come from each side, they might be out of Coke by the time they get to you, which is perfectly fine, because that means some hard-working Canadians and Americans got their full cans and booked their seats early. Gotta respect
I'm not
that.
I'm not being unreasonable here.
It sounds very petty.
I just feel like you'd be so much happier if you just let some things go. You know, pick your
Well,
battles, as it were.
But if people stop doing outrageous things, I would be.
I don't think that them not giving you the full can of Coke on the plane because they needed to see if they could get everyone Coke in a half glass, which is what they do on planes. Then I think that sounds kind of unreasonable.
So I have to sacrifice so they can save $10 on not putting an extra two cans.
No. You are not sacrificing.
Oh, no.
You aren't just getting more than everyone else.
See, we're living in Bernie Sanders Coke America.
Yes.
This is the problem. Even though
Exactly.
Tim has done nothing more than any other person on that plane who have all bought the same ticket to earn that Coke any more than he, but he gets it because he just happened to be served first.
Yes.
Yeah. I am the pariah of society. It's like,
Well, what did you do that's more important than the person 6 rows behind you who wouldn't have a half glass of Coke if you happen to get that full can? How is that person different?
I asked. I'm entitled to it. I want it.
I want it now. It's
I
mine.
want it now.
Have you
It's
ever
like
been on...
these restaurants. It's like these restaurants that refuse, and it's happening more and more. They refuse to take reservations. Like, there's no reason you can't take. If I'm willing to spend money at your restaurant, and I call you several days in advance, there's no reason why you can't reserve a table for me. I don't understand it.
Some places don't take reservations because they want to encourage walk-up traffic. Or some places are just too hip. That's like part of their appeal.
Their money, but their money is the same as my money.
Well,
I'm going to
wait. Because when you make these reservations, are you making them for yourself?
Yeah, table of one, please.
Because I can understand a restaurant. Yeah, I can understand a restaurant not wanting to reserve a table for one person, in that they'd obviously make more money from a group of 3 people or 4 people.
Well, that's discriminatory. I have just as much right to have a table reserved as anybody else.
Well, maybe if you found a gym buddy, you could go to dinner afterwards.
Ha 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 ha. That's very funny. I see what you're trying to do. If you run a restaurant and you refuse to take reservations, you've made a terrible mistake.
Chili's doesn't take reservations.
Yes, they do.
Do they?
Yes, they do.
Has anyone actually ever tried to make a reservation at a Chili's?
I don't know.
Can't see it, but I'm raising my hand.
Oh, God. No, but some places just don't give out reservations because part of the thing of going there is just like, hey, we're super busy all the time, and we want to encourage people to come walk in, and if you can get a seat, you can get a seat.
And
if not, wait at the bar for a bit.
Seating capacity, too. Like, I mean, most Chili's probably have something in the neighborhood of, like, 2 to 250 tables.
That seems like a lot. That's a lot of tables.
No, close to that.
Okay, maybe 100.
30.
Either
Let's
way.
say 30.
Yeah, I was going to
Chili's
say
have
20
way
plus
more than
50
30 tables.
Just think about the square footage it would require to have 100 tables.
Yeah,
Okay, let's not even say tables. Let's just say that Chili's could seat more than 400 people at a time, which I would think they.
I would say
definitely
200,
could.
maybe.
My girlfriend works in a tiny Italian restaurant that seats 250.
Okay.
Anyway.
Olive Garden?
Yes, it's Olive Garden.
Well,
Anyway.
it's an Italian restaurant.
Anyway. Yeah, but most of these restaurants, they have 10 tables. I can understand them fully not wanting to take a reservation. That seems very justifiable for a small restaurant.
Also, if you really want a reservation, just go on the reservation website. Each restaurant just has a reservation part of their website now, too. If they take it, you don't have to call them. You can see what's available at what times, if there's any tables. Be like, oh,
yeah, I don't want to do that.
Why don't you want to do it? Again, this is another thing where if you just adapt it a little bit, you'd be much happier.
Oh, okay, so I, as the customer, have to adapt to what the restaurant wants me to do. Okay, again, I should inconvenience myself from what I'm comfortable with so that they can... No, I'm not going to do that.
You were the same person last week who got upset that when you were talking to the person at the store that they picked up the phone.
No, they started serving another customer.
Well, they just had to address. They just had to address the phone. Did they continue to serve that customer? No, they just say
the phone. I don't think the phone even rang.
So they're psychic.
Maybe it was Feinberg who had a problem with people picking up the phone. But either way, it allows the people at the restaurant to work at the restaurant, and they've made a more convenient, faster way for you to see if there's reservations in a table at that time. But you don't want to take it, because apparently it's too much work, although it's less work.
What's convenient for me is to pick up the phone and call somebody. That's what I find convenient. Okay.
You gotta look up the number. You gotta go through press 1 for reservations.
As a man of the public, you'd think that you would have sort of a mob mentality approach to this stuff, where your very single-minded view obviously is not the consensus, or otherwise these large corporations for which you love and which so wholly take into account the mass populace needs and the mass populace areas of expertise. Like Chili's, you can reserve online. Obviously, Chili's wouldn't be doing that if they didn't think a lot of people could benefit from that situation.
And if you're picking up your phone anyway to call them, why not just pick them up and go to the website?
Well, what if I'm not using a cell phone?
Then you're trying to make reservations from 1993?
Well, maybe I'm using my house phone. I'm not using my cell phone.
Do you even have a
You have a
house phone?
landline?
Of course.
You're like the only person I know with a landline. Even
A lot of people still have landlines. And if there's an emergency or something, you want to have
my
a landline.
grandparents don't have a landline anymore.
Really?
No.
They both have cell phones. Why do they need a landline?
It's true.
Everyone I know in my family has a landline.
I can believe that.
Yeah, I can see that too. That's probably it. It's the total populace with landlines at this point. They try to give you landlines as a part of bundles, and it's like less money if you take the landline.
I just set up like a cable package at my apartment, and as the guy was leaving, he was like, "By the way, this is your phone number." And I was like, "I didn't ask for a landline." He's like, "Oh, you just have one now." Thanks.
Yeah, great.
Am I paying for this? He's like, "No."
Cool.
Giving them away.
Can't even give it. Can't even give. No one wants it.
Nope.
It's such trash.
I like landlines.
Why?
Do you like curling the cord in your hand as you're talking to your sweetheart?
They're more dependable. Yeah. They're more dependable. They're reliable. If the power goes out, your phone works. Your battery doesn't die.
You know, if the power goes out, your cell phone still works too, right?
Well, not if your phone. If the power's out for long enough, your phone will die. Because if you're some millennial who can't get off your phone, then the battery will be dead in about 6 minutes. And when it's gone, then you have no phone anymore.
Well, that's also not true because you can charge your phone from the external charger.
Well, there's no external charger if the power's off. You can't put it in the
No,
hole.
Yes, they're external chargers that they don't require to be plugged in. They charge your phone.
Well, I haven't seen these things, but
You can put it in your
way.
car. You can put it in your computer still if that's still got power. There's a lot of ways to charge your phone.
Yeah. And when was the last time a cell phone wasn't reliable for you to call with? It's not 2003. It's not like you have the big antenna out, trying to get to the highest point possible.
It's true. Bridges haven't been a problem for cell phones in a long time.
I want my landline. I'll always have one.
When was the last time you used your landline?
Oh, don't.
This morning.
Yeah, I was gonna say definitely.
To call who? Who are you calling? No one even takes phone calls anymore.
I called my grandmother on it.
When you're not talking to your grandma, how often do you use a landline?
Frequently.
How many times a day besides zero?
When I was out west, I took every single podcast on a landline, just about.
Really? And you had that bad a reception?
Yeah, I know.
So it sounds like they're not the most reliable thing now, are they?
But I knew that it was more reliable than myself. I like landlines. I'm pro landlines. I think they should continue to exist. I think people should try to use them more often. I think they underestimate how useful and important they are. It's good to have a phone in your house.
I do. I usually have it in my pocket.
Mm-hmm.
How often does your landline ring?
Yeah, and do you use the rotisserie phone?
We actually do have an old school rotary phone downstairs.
Phone, that's right. But it doesn't just spin on a thing like a chicken.
No, it's not a rotisserie. But I mean,
very buttery phone.
I still remember how to use a rotary phone, and I've used it in the past. Like I bet you kids
remember
today
how to
have
use
no
it.
idea.
It's a very simple concept.
That's a big accomplishment. I know how to use a rotary phone.
It's a numbered slot that you put your finger in.
And then pull it back.
Yes, that is true. There is an extra step to this process.
That was CUST Corner X. I would like to thank Tim Andercust.
Tim Andercust.
That is not my name.
For sharing his insane takes on the world. Garion Thorne, thank you for being here.
I feel like I've left a changed man.
It's like you never left.
Well, yeah, it was like you never left, but the time in between, was it like you were doing better with your life and then you heard this and you were like, oh, God.
Right. Like somehow I had forged past this.
Yeah. Now you're back.
Now I'm back.
It's like heroin.
Yeah, a little bit like heroin. just a little bit.
I mean, that's something pretty popular amongst the peoples, Tim. Are you in on that?
Gig fits, though, I will say.
Well, it kicked right off with the gig fit. What more? And Christopher Walken was with Tim earlier.
I know. It's crazy how he just stopped by.
I can't remember if that was this show or the other show. I think it was the other show.
Oh, yeah, it was the other show, baby. Yeah. Either way.
I got this watch. You sound like John Travolta. No, I don't.
How did he get there so fast?
Well, John Travolta flies a plane. That's why.
Yeah. Hey, I thought you were going to help me move.
Hey, man.
CUST Corner, it's CUST Corner. CUST Corner, it's CUST Corner. He's got the hottest takes with the highest stakes. He should be president of the United States, but it's CUST Corner, it's CUST Corner. CUST Corner, hee hee hee.